WLNS is here for you with 6 News at 11.
Condemnation from both sides of the aisle after a Detroit man got angry and used a racial slur during a Michigan Senate hearing today. It is our top story at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Siobhan Klepfer. That hearing of the State Senate Committee on Civil Rights was discussing a proposed ban on carrying guns in certain state buildings, particularly the state capitol in Lansing.
The two bills would add the Capitol, along with the office buildings for the State House and Senate, to the list of places where guns are not allowed, like schools and hospitals. A Detroit man named Avi Rocklin testified against the proposed ban, saying gun safety measures should be directed at people in Detroit, referring to them using the N-word.
I live in Detroit, and where you represent, Stephanie Chang, which are overwhelmingly 13 to 34-year-old sub-Saharan African. Those are the people who...
Rocklin was testifying on behalf of a white supremacist group and claimed the Democrat-backed bills were targeted at white people. Republican State Senate leader Jim Rumstead called the argument ridiculous. Another Republican state senator, Ruth Johnson, criticized Rocklin's language as inappropriate. On social media, Rocklin claimed his free speech rights were violated when his testimony was cut off.
Well, in the meantime, even more gun-related bills were introduced in the State House today as Democrats try to get their priorities passed during this lame duck session.
Republicans are set to take over control of the chamber in January.
Two of those bills would require people who are convicted of domestic violence misdemeanors to turn over their guns to the court, similar to someone who is convicted of a felony. The same would be true for people who are the subject of a personal protective order. Both of those bills have been referred to the State House Committee on Labor.
3 other bills were introduced today would require firearms purchased by law enforcement departments through gun buyback programs be destroyed. Gun buybacks offer people cash payments in exchange for their guns as a way to reduce the number of guns on the streets. However, there have been concerns in the past that the guns could be resold or only partially destroyed, so their parts could be resold. Now, Michigan State Police said last year they have a contract with the company called Gun Busters to make sure the guns are destroyed. But under current law, there are options for reselling those guns, for example, at a public auction. Now, the bills have been referred to the State House Committee on Military, Veterans, and Homeland Security. A Jackson County man is headed to trial accused of pulling out a gun and pointing it at a deputy after trying to get away on a lawnmower.
This happened in September when the deputy was sent to a home in Leone Township to arrest the 41-year-old suspect.
Now, the sheriff's office says this man, James Kerr, was wanted for a probation violation and 2 misdemeanor warrants. Kerr was on the mower when deputies arrived, and he was told to get off, but police say he drove off. The deputy chased him, and Kerr eventually stopped in a ditch.
The sheriff's office says the suspect then tried to walk away but turned back, grabbed a gun hidden in the mower, and then pointed it at the deputy.
The deputy then tased Kerr, causing him to shoot himself in the hand. Kerr was treated for the gunshot wound at the hospital and then to jail.
Today, the judge ruled there is enough evidence to send this case to circuit court for trial. Kerr is charged with assault with intent to murder, felony firearm, and resisting and obstructing. An email from a Michigan State University professor is stirring some controversy tonight.
And that professor is accused of sending a politically charged message in the wake of last week's election.
A representative from the MSU chapter of conservative group Turning Point USA claims the professor sent his students an email after the election accusing people who support President-elect Donald Trump of endorsing racism and violence. The group claims this violates university policy and is asking for a disciplinary investigation. When 6 News asked for comment, an MSU spokesperson said the professor did not make any specific claims against the students who received the email, and the situation is being addressed through the appropriate channels.
Turning to automotive news tonight, the Environmental Protection Agency could have an uncertain future under the new Trump administration.
And that could have an impact on the future of cars, particularly electric vehicles. Rashad Hudson has a closer look.
A key piece of President Biden's legacy is on the chopping block.
And I think that's what President Trump is going to bring, is a good dose of common sense to improvements in environmental standards.
New York Congressman Nick Langworthy says many of President Biden's climate goals, like stricter tailpipe emissions and the push toward electric vehicles, need to be reevaluated.
We can improve our environment, but while not shackling the U.S. economy.
West Virginia Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito wants to repeal the parts of the Inflation Reduction Act that deal with climate change.
A lot of what they have in there is spending on Green Bank and environmental justice.
Now that Republicans control Congress, Capito believes they can make major changes to President Biden's environmental policies,
clawing back some of the regulatory areas that we've seen the Biden administration overreach.
And Tennessee Republican Senator Bill Hagerty says Trump supports the technologies.
He's just against an overreaching bureaucracy that tries to dictate the behavior and control Americans.
But Delaware Democratic Senator Chris Coons says the U.S. must increase electric vehicle manufacturing.
I think there is a clean energy transition underway worldwide. The Chinese are currently the dominant global manufacturer of electric vehicles.
Coons says he remains optimistic Congress will work in a bipartisan way to keep car climate goals. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Well, tomorrow, of course, a big day across the state of Michigan. It's the start of firearm deer season. I know a lot of hunters are heading out there tomorrow morning. Good news, bad news. The good news is it looks dry and not too bad temperature-wise. Take a look at the hunting forecast. The bad news is, you see on my graphic, no light snow on the ground, so it makes tracking a little tougher for the hunters out there, but otherwise no big complaints. We're near 50 by around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Visibility numbers, we're down to, look at Flint, down to 0.13 of a mile. It's getting pretty low, at least in spots, still a half mile in Alma. 1 mile is Howell, 4 miles for Lansing. Here's the view outside on McLaren Cam. Can hardly make out a thing. So our camera's up pretty high, and it certainly is low cloudiness at the very least, if not fog on the ground. Current temperature 47 degrees. Today's high was 48. In Grand Ledge, you can see Bridge Street there, so you can still make out a fair amount of distance, but obviously of an inch, and you can see still some low cloudiness, but you can make out downtown. So again, visibility not all that bad outside, little reduced. In Hillsdale, looks okay, at least for the time being. Temperature, that's at 47 degrees after a high of 49 and a morning low of 42 degrees. Other readings around mid-Michigan, we're all stuck in the same place we were at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and 6 o'clock this evening in the mid-40s. We haven't really moved a whole lot and probably won't for most of the overnight hours. Radar's not going to pick up some of the light drizzle out there, but there is a little bit intermixed with the fog and the low cloudiness, so kind of a gloomy night across the area. Low pressure is going to continue to push away. Normally high pressure moves in, that clears things out, but it's going to have a hard time breaking these clouds up. So best case, probably mostly cloudy tomorrow afternoon. Worst case, still cloudy skies. So I think the clouds will probably try to hold tough. This high starts to slip east as we move into Saturday morning, and despite the high in the region, still mostly cloudy skies. We might break into partly cloudy skies for a short time, but still more clouds and sunshine. And off to our west, little weak system organizing, which could bring us a couple sprinkles on Sunday, but the better chance for showers will probably hold off until Tuesday. Here's tonight's forecast. Your low drops to 44 degrees, not too far from where we are right now with again some patchy dense fog. Moving into tomorrow, we'll climb into the upper 40s and low 50s by noontime and just kind of hold there in the afternoon. Average high is 48 degrees, so we're just a couple off the normal tomorrow. The light tube forecast, you guys like this at 5 and 6, so I thought I'd show it again tonight.
Perfect.
Now, for me tomorrow, what I'd like to do when it's cloudy and cool like that, yeah, just park it right there in front of the television, get the recliner going. I mean, that's how I like to roll on a gloomy afternoon. The 6-day forecast, 53 on Saturday, 56 on Sunday. Then next week we've got some showers on the way Tuesday and Wednesday. Still looks cold late next week with highs near 40 Thursday and Friday. Cold enough for a few snowflakes to mix in, perhaps for silver bells, but I'm hoping that precipitation will be coming to an end as we get closer to parade time, because that's kind of, I had rain in on Saturday, or snow showers on Saturday. I've taken those out as we're starting to narrow down when the best chance will be.
Oh.
So hopefully we can narrow it down more and move it off of Friday.
Yeah, that would be nice. Just the rain, you know, it's tough with the rain. Some snow here and there might be all right.
Right, I mean, if it's 35 degrees and a few snow showers, it's kind of fun to do a parade then.
Definitely, it makes it more festive.
Yeah.
So thanks, David.
Still to come here tonight, President-elect Donald Trump announced he plans to put RFK Jr. in charge of health in his new administration. We'll hear the reaction next.
That and much more straight ahead. 6 News at 11. We'll be right back.